In this video, we're continuing our conversation about the possible events that could happen sometime after the war in Wano. Yesterday, we finished with what could happen to Kaido's territory, especially Wano Kuni. We're also done with the Shichibukai, and we're moving on now. And this one is more of wishful thinking at this point because of the sheer number of possibilities that would have to happen for this idea to come true. Now, assuming Kaido and Big Mom's alliance gets broken up in Wano, either by the Marines or by Luffy's alliance, Big Mom could end up escaping the whole mess there, and should plot revenge against the Straw Hats, and would be hell-bent on getting back at them for all the shame they have brought onto her and her crew. I thought of this scenario because we still haven't seen Big Mom and Luffy settle their fight, which had been foreshadowed way back in Fishman Island. I want her to fight with Luffy one-on-one, because this was highly anticipated from the events back then when Luffy made Fishman Island his territory. So I'm expecting a one-on-one scenario between Luffy and Big Mom. This might happen after she gets a hold of the ancient weapons too, which would make it more exciting. But that just means she gets a hold of information on Poseidon, Pluton, or Uranus. Giggity. And if this does end up happening, it might be at Shirahoshi's expense. Kidnapping her would anger Luffy, and that would be an awesome reason for Luffy to fight with Big Mom, which I'm truly expecting. Obviously, this one-on-one can happen much sooner in the Wano arc, and I'm hoping for it for sure. But I leave it in Oda's very capable hands as I start to digress. We head straight for Blackbeard, and you might think that I'd talk about him in the last part of the video, but I'm saving that last part for something special in my eyes. Now, I recall the scenes when Moria invaded Blackbeard's territory to find Absalom. Admittedly, I never thought Moria would even do that, and he gained so much respect from me with those actions. Anyway, Teach mentioned that the strongest will start fighting for the throne, as evidenced by Big Mom invading Kaido's territory. This was also mentioned by Doflamingo back when he was escorted by Tsuru, the Vice Admiral. So I got to thinking, what's going to happen moving forward? If these two, Blackbeard and Doflamingo, who have just been gathering so much power during their reign as Yonkou and Shichibukai, had noticed that this vicious power struggle is happening now, then the other pirates in the world, not just in the New World, would definitely realize this at some point and make their own moves. I took a pretty good amount of time so I could really think about the events post Wano arc because I somehow feel that this war would be the catalyst of the chaos in the One Piece world. A jumpstart, if you will. And along with it, Blackbeard will surely go for Sabo's devil fruit because we last saw him talking about snatching someone up when we were learning about some parts of the incident in the reverie. Another of the moves that Blackbeard could make would be sending Shiryu to Wano to spy on what happens, which I'm pretty hyped up for because I think that they would be treated to the knowledge that Kaido and Big Mom had started an alliance and was broken up by Luffy and the others, and that they were going for the ancient weapons, and that there were actually ancient weapons that existed in the One Piece world. I say this because I don't think that a lot of people in the current time of One Piece knows about the ancient weapons, and this is really an off chance because Caribou might have been tortured so much and he ended up spilling this information onto Queen in exchange for his life. So Queen tells Kaido, and is the reason why the Yonkou Alliance was looking to acquire these weapons in the first place. Knowing this now would make them start chasing after the weapons, gathering as much information as they could. I really think this has a good chance of happening because I do believe that hunting fruit users would have a limit to it. I'm sure Blackbeard realizes this as well, and he should be looking for ways to dominate the other Yonko and start invading other Yonko territory too. And really, the fight for supremacy won't end just by invading each other's territory. They would have to gain enough power, territory, and beat the other crew completely, which could happen with the help of the ancient weapons, or something close to rival it, so they would be able to beat other strong crews without too many losses. So with Shiryu spying in Wano the way that Absalom was getting information for the newspapers back then, they will surely get to hear about the ancient weapons, dive deeper into this, and search for it while acquiring more fruit users for their crew, like Sabos. To be frank, for me the best option would still be just the old-fashioned beating everyone else to laugh tale, but that won't happen without Robin, members of the Three-Eyed Tribe, or characters that hear the voice of all things, like Momonosuke, Luffy, and Roger. So, Robin might be a great target for other crews and organizations like the Underworld, especially moving forward. And as for hunting the ancient weapons, the main targets might be Robin, Shirahoshi, Vivi, and Cobra if they're still alive, and possibly Frankie and Iceberg. Next, we have the Marines. The most obvious moves that the Marines would do would first be to target the big name pirates that are causing a mess in the entire One Piece world, not just the New World. This is also dependent on how big of an area they can protect or control with the new powers that they have acquired. The new force can be used to tip the scales in the New World, and the pacifistas would be seemingly enough to handle rookies in paradise, which really sounds like a Broadway play, so let's just call it the first half of the Grand Line. They can get a lot of information with their network, along with Cypher Pole, and their wiretapping, and with the very mysterious Emu, as well as the Gorosei with them. They should know about the ancient weapons and what goes on in the other Yonkou's movements, as well as the underworld. This is because even the headquarters of Big News Morgans was infiltrated by the world government. The Gorosei ordered Spandam to try and get a hold of the ancient weapons once. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up kidnapping Shirahoshi instead of Charlos the Tenryubito or the other Yonko. Vegapunk is another mysterious figure we have very little knowledge about, and I think that he might be the key to the whole war that engulfs the world, which is why Oda has been taking so much time to reveal more about him. But since he seems to be a very ethical dude, I doubt that he would actively take part in the world government's activities if he knew about Imu or the dark side of justice that exists in the Marines. So a plot twist of him joining the Straw Hats or at least lending them some aid would be a pretty good expectation later on in the story. I also believe that Kaido and Big Mom's alliance would make the Marines move against it as soon as they could, which makes the founding of the new powers of the Marines very timely. And they should really make an appearance in Wano to counter the alliance before it picks up any momentum and rules the entirety of the New World, and eventually the whole world. So with all of the mess happening in Wano, CP0 might end up getting more than what they were bargaining with Orochi for. If I recall correctly, this surprised Drake and reported it to Kobe too. So, the Marines could have internal discord because CP0 were out to get weapons and items that were only being built in Wano without the knowledge of the Marines. But Orochi was demanding for Vegapunk in return, so obviously the deal fell off. But knowing CP0, they won't be coming back empty-handed. So, when the war ends, it's going to be a good opportunity for them to actually steal or get more items without committing too many resources, especially if the Marines do show up in Wano. Next, I'm also looking forward to see more of Jewelry Bonney. I still think that she's the biggest enigma in One Piece, and I'm dying to know more about her. Her plot is so thick, and I think that it would be about time for her to make an actual splash in the story. I will provide the link on the video I made about the importance of Jewelry Bonnie to the story down in the description below, because I think that she knows a lot more than what we are being led to believe. I still think that her bounty is too low for what she can actually do, because she might be the very reason why the Gorosei seem to be eternally young, and why Imu is alive or still alive in this current time in the One Piece world. Her devil fruit powers might be the reason the world government is so eager to look for her, despite being so weak, as mentioned by Blackbeard when he was trying to exchange her for a battleship. And because of this, I think that Lady Toki might not be the only one from the Void Century. And Bonnie might be one of the people that know about the true history of the One Piece world. and is being kept alive by the government because of her agreement to use her powers to prolong the life of the Gorosei and Imu. We might finally see her actually doing meaningful things in the story, because all she's been doing so far is holding grudges and making comments, which really makes me curious to actually know or confirm what her importance is to the world of One Piece. I really think she's being used by the Gorosei and Imu so that they can basically be immortal. Though I'm open to the possibility that Imu might have been the first character that was immortalized by the Ope Ope no Mi. But Jewelry Bonnie might be able to immortalize any character with her age manipulating powers. It could have been why the Gorosei seem immune from aging, because we have seen them multiple times pre and post time skip, but they look the same. There have been a lot of characters that were shown to get older, Sengoku for one, King Cobra from the Alabasta Kingdom, and a lot more. But I do think that having a story that has been going on for 20 years, with a backstory this deep, is bound to have some inconsistencies in both the manga itself and the anime version. So let's keep in perspective that no matter how great a storyteller Oda is, even with his team backing him up, they are still human. But one thing is for sure, Jewelry Bonnie is one of the biggest and longest mysteries that we've had in the story of One Piece, and I'm sure that a lot of fans are also dying to know more about her importance to the story. Moving along, if I remember correctly, we last saw the members of the Revolutionary Army reacting to the news about Sabo. We don't know what exactly happened yet, but judging from their reactions, as well as the reactions of the people that actually knew Sabo, Sabo may have been caught or could have died. If we base Dragon's personality off of Luffy and Garp's, then it would be safe to assume that Dragon will make his move to save Sabo after they end up confirming if this was false news or reality. I highly doubt that Dragon would sit idly by knowing his number 2 is in big trouble. So an ambush mission and a full-on confrontation is definitely in the equation. We might actually learn about the new powers of the Marines when we hear about what happened to Sabo. It might be used as a demonstration that the new power of the Marines can rival even the strongest people in the One Piece world. And finally, to wrap the video up, we have the Red Hair Pirates. Straight up, I think that Shanks knows a few things about the Void Century. I know that he and Buggy didn't make it to Laugh Tale, but Roger might have given them some sort of clue or direction or final orders to accomplish before they went their separate ways. The world government might not know that Shanks and Buggy weren't with the crew when they went to Laugh Tale, but seeing how they couldn't touch Shanks before means at the very least they respect him for keeping his mouth shut about the topic of true history, leaving the ancient weapons alone, and just sitting idle within his territory having fun with his crew. But in my opinion, that shouldn't be the only thing that Shanks does in the story, right? Luffy's crew might be the pirates that Roger had been waiting on, and Shanks might have played the most integral part of the story, which was challenging and inspiring Luffy. But I don't think that justifies Shanks being idle in the story. Yes, he stopped the war, which was fantastic, but he could have saved Ace, if he really wanted to. Two Yonkou teaming up against the Marines would definitely be a mismatch. But that would eliminate all the good that the Marines are doing, and it could end the story of One Piece right there. Or make it more chaotic from being lawless. It could have been because he didn't want to intrude with matters that didn't really concern him, but it worked out well for the story. But going back, I feel like seeing how strong Shanks is, how he was so friendly with the main protagonist of the story, it would be a shame if this is the only thing he does in the story. We all know that Luffy wants to become better than Shanks, and they could still end up fighting before the Straw Hats take on Blackbeard's crew. But I think that Shanks would inevitably back Luffy up when the time comes. He might even accompany Luffy to Laugh Tale, just to see it for himself, and ally himself to Luffy so that they could effect change in the world of One Piece and ultimately defeat Imu and the Celestial Dragons, not necessarily the Marines, because Luffy values freedom more than anything. So getting rid of the people that are controlling and taking advantage of others can totally be how the story ends. So that wraps up today's video, and I know that this is just a brief mention of the theories that I have in mind, because I really want these videos to serve as a start of an entertaining conversation rather than just an informational video in a One Piece channel. So if you loved the video, please crush like and comment down below what you think will be the biggest events after the war in Wano. Also, smash the subscribe button so that the channel could grow, and pound the notification bell because on the next video, we're talking about the most destructive devil fruit powers in the One Piece world as of right now. It's gonna be fun, and I hope to see you in that conversation. So, stay safe, peace.